Well, good day, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join. This is going to be a brief sprint, as I like to call it, a learning sprint. Let me start by introducing myself. I'm Asha. I'm a resident of Hong Kong, been living here for 20 years now, and I run a business in Hong Kong called Active Communication. We are in the space of leadership and personal development. We also do a lot of work with different organizations to help them fulfill their vision of high potential talent development. So that's what we work with. Along with me today on the call is Kana Wu. Kana is the producer, and she's here to help us make sure that there are no technical issues with Zoom. So during this session today, which is going to last between 45 minutes to an hour, if you have any questions, any comments to share, please feel free to use the chat box. Just drop your comments in there. I would love to come back to any questions at the end if there are any. And we will also give you a link at the end where you can go back and let us know if there are any other courses that you would like to hear from us about, either as a learning sprint or as a longer version of the workshop. What we're going to be talking about today is around vision, creating a vision. It could be for yourself as a leader, or it could be for your team, or if you are your own boss, it could even be for your organization. So it's about how do you focus your energies towards a goal and how do you fuel that particular goal. It's about working towards that vision and driving growth through this aspirational vision. What is a vision? We'll come to that in just a second. I would like to highlight first, what does an effective vision do? An effective vision helps provide a very different viewpoint. So typically what happens is we tend to get stuck in our day to day. And a lot of times we are so much into that day to day perspective that it's difficult for us to see the bigger picture. So a vision helps us to uh, make decisions which are a balance between that immediate today and that distant future. I like to call it as moving our heads from in the weeds to getting a more of an eagle eye perspective, right? So to be able to go up, put some distance between you and the problem that you're having today, and reframe that problem statement in the context of that longer term vision. And that is what I think is really where a vision helps. It helps to take the emotion out and it helps us to gain that perspective. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? Is it worthwhile? Right? Those are the important elements of a vision. Research also shows us that a vision is like that lighthouse, right? What do I mean by that? A lighthouse typically is the one that guides ships, isn't it? Back in the days when we didn't have electricity, when we didn't have all the sophisticated radar equipment that we are in possession of today, ships relied on these lighthouses to make sure that they wouldn't go and crash on the rocks. They knew where exactly they had to drop anchor. And the vision is that lighthouse. So, for the vision to be effective and for it to be powerful, it cannot just remain a statement on a wall. It has to be something that can bring people together, that can bring that alignment amongst the people, and that helps people to understand again why they're coming into work. Why do they do what they do? A vision has to bring that sense of power into the people, right? So that they come feeling motivated into the workplace. And last but not the least, it has to drive action. Interestingly, when surveyed, 89% of high performance teams have cited that a shared vision is their number one driver. So, if you want to build that high performance team within your organization, it's absolutely crucial that you have a vision that everybody can sign into. Now, again, just going into some of the numbers to make a case for having a vision. It's clear that in different surveys, conducted by different organizations globally, where there is a vision, we've seen a clear performance. So a vision is not just a good to have thing, but it just definitely makes for better business sense. So for example, here, the number that really stood out for me is that 47% of growth has been recorded over a decade where there's been a long-term vision, right? And look at the loss, $1.2 trillion dollars can be attributed to poor management in the US, and that comes without a vision. So, where there is no vision, definitely there is a higher risk to the organization. The bottom line is that very few people actually recognize that their leaders have a clear direction, a clear vision for their organization. And that is scary because it's only 22% of the employees that were surveyed by a Forbes Gallup survey said that the leaders had a clear vision. That's scary, isn't it? Less than 30%, which means less than a third of the organizations actually have that vision. So I think the business case is there, isn't it, as to why visions are important. Now, again, in our work, when we work with organizations, what we've seen is plenty of organizations say that we have a vision, and they do have a vision. The vision is very proudly put up on the walls, it's everywhere. Unfortunately, it's not something that has been internalized by even a lot of the senior level executives. So when we ask them, what is the vision? They are unable to tell us what it is. And I think that's primarily because maybe a lot of them haven't really internalized it. And they know there is something, but they just don't know how to articulate it. Sometimes vision statements can also be quite complex, if you know what I mean. They're not easy, they're not simple, and it's not about memorizing it, but it's about understanding the ethos, understanding the underlying value of that particular mission or that vision, and working with it. So, when we look at a focused vision, what are the three pillars of that focus? How can we make sure that that vision is something that is simple, that can be understood, and that can be articulated by everybody? There are three pillars. I call them the three C's. And they're very easy to understand: clarity, consistency, courage. The first pillar, clarity, it's about making sure that we define what matters the most, making sure that we're not really bringing a lot of things into it, but focusing on the one thing that's really important. Think about it like your bullseye, right? So you have a target board. Think about it like the bullseye in the middle of the target board. That is what matters the most. Focus on that. The second thing is consistency, making sure that any decisions we make, actions that we take, are committed to that particular vision. We can show a direct causal effect of that decision or that action to the vision that we have. And that's what we mean by consistency. That helps drive consistency of communication. That helps drive consistency of decision making. That helps drive consistency across the organization. And finally, courage. How does courage matter? Courage matters because when we have to make decisions that are bold, that are kind of questioning the status quo, if we are able to again show how it links back to the vision, that shows courage. So even when the path is uncertain, when we don't know how we're going to go ahead, that courage comes in when we know how we are going to go towards our vision. So, how do you craft your own vision statement? So, to craft your own vision statement, what you need to do is to take each of the pillars and write a statement or a sentence around that pillar and then bring them together. So here is a small example. And this was from a sales team. The first question was clarity. What's that one single outcome that they want to work towards that will drive them forward? And they came up with this statement. It is that every client conversation will end with a clear next step. Notice that they did not talk about profits, they did not talk about closing a sale, they did not talk about all of those things. Consistency. In this team now, they basically agreed that if for some reason one person drops the ball, is unable to follow up within 24 hours, somebody else picks up the ball on their behalf. Things happen, isn't it? I may be off sick, I may need to go elsewhere, emergencies may happen, something else may come up, or it may be that somebody else has a better working relationship with that particular client and they can pick it up. Somebody else picks up the thread. And that is what comes up with consistency. And finally, the third pillar, courage. What is that bold bet that they are willing to make? So they then came up again with, even if the conversation is going to be tough, we will not put it off. We will have that hard, tough conversations early. And then they wove it together and had one vision statement that they crafted. We will ensure that we have long term clients. Now, here's a small checklist that I would like to leave with all of you as well. Whenever you craft your vision statement, there are 6 points on this checklist, which is like a quick check to make sure that your vision statement passes the three pillar test. For clarity, can you explain it without any jargon? Right? So if you go back to the previous slide and you look at that particular clarity statement, every client conversation will end with a clear next step. There's no jargon there, right? They're not talking about ROI, they're not talking about anything. They're just talking very simply, it's going to end with a clear next step. So that's the first step. That's the first checkpoint that we need to look at. The next checkpoint is, does every team member know what success looks like? So, one of the next steps that the sales team leader took for this was to say every new team member that came into their team would get a copy of this vision statement and the underlying 3 C's as part of their orientation pack. And the manager committed to actually sitting down with each of the team members and making sure they understood and signed in to this particular vision statement. Consistency. Does it translate into daily habits and actions? So, again, when you look at this one here, does it meet that particular checklist? Absolutely, right? So, everybody's committing that they will prepare with intention for any client meeting and that they will follow up within 24 hours of the client meeting. Again, the follow up is not to say, have you taken a decision? Are you going to close the sale? Are you going to join us or not? No, no, no. The follow up is more around, do you have any more questions for me? Do you have any concerns, or do you have any feedback for me? So the follow up could be as something as simple as that. It could even be a simple thank you message, right? With consistency, can you measure progress about towards it regularly? So if you think about this, for the leader, it's fairly simple to get back with the team and go, so how many meetings did you have? What's happening with the follow-ups, right? And it becomes fairly easy for the team members to also articulate and go, yep, this is what I've been doing, this is how I have been following up. And finally, courage. Does this push you beyond your comfort zone? Now, this team had committed to having the hard conversations early. Definitely pushes everybody out of their comfort zone, right? Because as human beings, we tend to procrastinate when it comes to hard conversations, when it comes to tough conversations. So definitely it pushes them out of their comfort zone. And would it still excite you if it were made public? And that was a tough one, right? So people really thought about this and they go, what does it mean? Will it still excite me if it goes public? And then people, they decided and they said, yeah, absolutely. If people know that we are committing to have those difficult conversations early, that's bold, right? And it excites me. It's not going to make me feel nervous or scared or put off by it. It makes me excited that others are now also buying into it. They know about it. And so that was what the whole thing was all about, right? So making sure that when you write a vision statement, it can meet those 6 bullets. So here's one thing I would like to ask you now to do. as a next step from this very brief session that we've just been on, I would like you to commit to writing your own vision in the next 48 hours. And like I said, it could be your personal vision. It doesn't have to be always for a team or for a business. It could be your personal vision. Think about the three C's, right? Think about this vision statement. How do I bring clarity? How do I bring consistency? How do I bring courage into it? It's not about becoming perfect. Just be honest, right? And remember, you may want to make, I don't know, 20, 25 iterations before you get to one that really makes you comfortable, that really makes you happy. Share it out. Read it out aloud with one other person. So find somebody that you really trust, or maybe a family member, or maybe a mentor, just or maybe your manager. Read it out to them. Observe the body language, right? See how they're receiving it. Observe yourself. How does it make you feel when you're saying it out aloud? Open it up to feedback. Get some feedback from them and see how you can make it even more clear, even more consistent, and even more courageous. And every week, revisit this, refine it. I would say block some time out, maybe once a week, just to go back and review your week and go, have I been following this? The actions I've taken, are they in line with this particular vision? Is my vision acting like that lighthouse, or is it become a distraction? Right? Evolve it, change it as you keep growing, because your vision does not have to be static. Yeah, it's not a one time activity, right? So you can keep making changes to it. So I'm going to pause at this point and I'm going to give you an opportunity to start to write down a rough draft of your vision. I'm not going to ask you to share it. So just go ahead, please write it down for yourself. And I'll bring up the slide with the clarity, consistency, courage. So you can then actually write your vision, keeping these three pillars in mind. That was a good share. Thank you so much for to all of you who've shared. And as I promised you, we didn't record it because we want to keep it personal to you. We want to respect your confidentiality. So thank you for sharing, and I hope that that was an interesting activity for all of you. Remember, I love this saying. By the way, it's an old Japanese proverb, and I think this is so true, isn't it? A vision without action is a daydream. I may have a vision of me driving a Ferrari, but if I don't take action towards actually being able to buy that Ferrari or even learning how to drive a car, it's going to remain a daydream, right? And action without vision is a nightmare. So the two go hand in hand, and we need to make sure that we have a vision and we can do action. We can plan our actions around that vision. If you have any other questions you have, if you would like to go a bit deeper into the whole visioning activity, please scan the QR code on the screen and get in touch with us. Even if you have any other workshops you would like to attend, be they small short learning sprints, or even if you would like to attend a longer workshop, let us know and we will make sure that we can get back in touch with you. Reach out to us again if you have any more questions. You can either, like I said earlier, scan the QR code or drop us an email on info@activecommunication.net. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you all around. Thank you. Bye.